Does your mower do this? That doesn't start? Well, then this is the video for you. Because 99% of the lawn mowers that pull over or crank but don't start, it's the carburetor. In this video, we're going to be replacing the carburetor on this Troy-Bilt TB240 push mower. The carburetor replacement for almost all push mowers is pretty much identical, and if your riding mower as well is also just cranking with the key but not starting, it's very likely the carburetor as well. Replacing the carburetor on riding mowers is not as easy as push mowers, but it's also fairly simple. I bought this carburetor replacement kit for that push mower you just saw off Amazon. To find a carburetor kit for your mower, all you really need to do is just put in your make and model of lawnmower. For example, this is a Troy-Bilt TB240. You could put in a Craftsman M100 or whatever model your mower is, and most likely if the carburetor's description says it fits your mower model, then it's going to fit. The tools I'm using here are pretty simple for this job, just a socket set with a variety of different millimeter and fractions of an inch sockets for these machines. Here I've got an impact driver. You can also use a drill, or you can just not use a drill at all or a power tool and just use one of these, just a regular socket wrench that comes with the kit. I'm a mechanic and I work on these things a lot, so I have this tool to speed it up. Here we've got just some regular old pliers for pinching the clamps on the fuel line, which we're going to get to, and then some vice grips. Vice grips are useful to have for these kinds of jobs. Honda mowers actually make the fuel process a little bit easier because they often have this fuel shutoff knob here, so you can just keep your mower level. If it's a Briggs & Stratton engine, which are extremely common on these push mowers, some people just put something back on the handle and just tilt it so the mower is lifted up and work on it like that, so the fuel is below where it's going to run out when you disconnect the fuel line, because these tanks are gravity fed. Also though, if you don't want to do that, you can take these vice grips and just clamp them on the fuel line to kind of crimp it while you work on it. The first step is to take these two bolts off here. These ones are a 10 millimeter on this mower. So we'll pull these out and store them in a safe place so we don't lose them. Now you can carefully pull on the airbox back plate, and you'll see that often on these mowers there is one breather hose that's connected to the airbox. It's over here, so we'll just gently pull that out. There we go. This is often not held on by a clamp. Alright, now for these Honda engines, we're going to turn this knob this way to stop fuel. Again, if it's a Briggs & Stratton engine without one of these shutoffs, or if it just doesn't have a shutoff, you can either tip the mower like this way, up using the handlebars and put thing on it, or you can just clamp these down on the fuel line like that. So we'll start by lightly pulling on our carburetor, which comes very freely. Sometimes on some engines they'll have bolts coming out of the intake manifold on the engine block or the head, and in that case you might have to remove this linkage first. Now let's tackle the linkage. So on this mower it has a special Honda auto choke option, so we're going to have to remove, that's this big section here, so we're going to have to remove that. There we go. Just be careful not to damage anything. And this one is not seized up, but if your mower's been sitting for a while, this is one of the reasons why it's a good idea to replace the carb, because sometimes these linkages can be seized. The linkage on this carburetor actually happens to be seized, but the auto choke feature is not. Now we can remove the old intake gasket. Often the kits come with a new intake gasket. It's very common, so if this breaks, don't worry too much unless your kit doesn't come with that. This one actually looks reusable because it didn't break too much. And now we've got the linkages. So almost always on this mower, there'll be this little small thin governor spring here, and then there's going to be the throttle linkage. So we can just turn the carb and twist it to pull that out, being careful not to break it on the other end. There we go. And last but not least is our fuel line for the carb. So sometimes, in some cases, this can be really stuck on there and require a bit of pulling and yanking to get it off. I'm going to see how stuck this one is, though. It does have a little clamp on it. I'm going to try the pliers on it. And that did break it free. Let's see if it'll come off. Boom, it's off. And as you can see with this fuel line, if we turn it on, there we go, there's our fuel. Just took a little bit of jiggling. Try that again. Well, that is a very weak flow. So, that means that we need some new fuel line. This is not the common case. Thankfully, I have some fuel line replacement on hand that I bought from Amazon. This is also very easy to buy. Same exact process on this side. So here's our carburetor kit. This one even comes with a new air filter, which is quite nice. And just as I imagined, it came with a nice new intake gasket. And what do you know, even some fuel line with clamps. Which is quite funny because I just replaced that fuel line, but I'll use this one since it's designed for this mower. And there's our carburetor. Very nice and shiny, new looking. And we've got a new spark plug, which I'll definitely be installing just to give this mower a full tune-up. New fuel shutoff. I'm not 100% sure what that is, but that's okay. Let's get this installed. So I chose to replace the fuel shutoff switch anyways, just because. And this is a Phillips screwdriver on the back, which is quite easy. And of course another one of these clamps. Let's see if I can get this off. Now gas is going to come out of this end. So I'm going to do the crimp method. I expect to see a little bit of gas, just a little bit. It was in the line. And we've got our new shut off. Pop that on. And right now it should be, that should be off. Boom. Turning it on. Here comes our gas. Let's reattach it. And we got our little spring attached back here. If you're doing this replacement on one of these Honda engines, that spring is quite important to get back on this little hook once you take these two bolts out. 'Cause that's the process. You take these two bolts out, and there's a Phillips screw on the back. You pull that off, pull the line off, put the new one on, put the Phillips screw back on. This was a little hard to get in because I had to break through this new plastic. But anyways, then you screw these back on and make sure this is hooked in. And now we can put our new fuel line on. Fits very nicely. It's already got the clamps on it. And then we've got our new carburetor, which is right here. Now I'm going to hook this up first, and then we're going to get into the linkage stuff. These clips are nice. You can actually grab them by hand. Okay, now it's gasket time. So here we've got our new gaskets. So the biggest one is this intake gasket, and sometimes if the old gasket is cracked to the point where it's worn through, or even if you didn't put the gasket back in, the mower will literally just not turn on at all and just not start. And the reason for that is this gasket is really important to seal the vacuum between the engine block and the carburetor. So here's how we're going to do this. We're going to do it in order. So out of these gaskets, you're going to select the one that looks like this, if that's what matches your carb, because our carb, as you can see, has this little kind of part there and part there, and it's also got that hole in the corner, which means this one's going to match here. Alright, and right now I just did a little quick wipe out of this thing. You don't have to do that, but I just got some of the bits of hanging spider webs and cobwebs and kind of grease that was in there off. So the way we're going to do this is fairly simple as long as you follow the right order. So we're going to take our bolts. There's two of them. We're going to put the first one through here, and then we're going to put the second one through here. These are both the bolts that you took out in the beginning, like that. And we'll flip it over while holding these. You can see that. Now we got to align. So if the carb is going to go this way, then the gasket is going to go on the carb, which means we're going to put the gasket next, like this. Put that flush to the edge. Now bring our carb up, and we'll put these two lines through the carburetor. And there's no gas in the carburetor yet, so we don't have to worry about it tipping over. That's that one in. Now you got to just kind of fiddle around, get that through the hole. I'm going to show you guys in a minute what we just did here. Here we go. So if we flip it over, you can see our carb bolts are sticking out of here. So now we're going to take our new intake gasket. I'm going to pop that through that hole, through that hole. And the final thing is the auto choke. So we've got the auto choke assembly. This is just for these Honda motors. I'll put this through here. Actually, my mistake, it goes like this. Put this through there, that way. And now we've got these little two stubs sticking out here. And that's where we need one more gasket. There is a gasket here already. It feels pretty intact, so I'm just going to choose not to replace that and be lazy. If you want to go really thorough, you can replace this one and pull it off, because this kit did come with all the gaskets for that. And now, while pressing these screws, we're going to make sure that we get it in those holes. We've also got this breather hose for the air box cover, which we can just pop right on. Probably you can do that after. Get that there. And now these are going to come out a little bit. We're just going to hand tighten them a little bit just to get them screwed in so nothing falls out of place. And then now I'll take, for you it can be the socket, I'm going to take the impact and just screw these in. All the way down. Not too tight. You don't want to over tighten these, otherwise you can crack things like the carb or the block. Okay. And that is that. Now let's turn on the fuel. And this is gravity fed, so you might want to wait. I'd say wait maybe 30 seconds to 1 minute to just let the carburetor bowl fill up. Because if we use the old carb as an example, this is the fuel bowl where that holds the fuel. So you want to let that fill up since it's gravity fed. And in the meantime, I'm going to move this mower, kind of jiggle it around, get the fuel flowing. I'm going to clean up this workspace a little bit, get this mower moved back. And then we'll get to give it a fire-up test. Alright, now it's time to see if it fires up. So at this point, you guys are probably like, what the hell, dude? You forgot the most important piece, the governor. Which I did. And that was my mistake. I don't know what the hell I was thinking there. That was very silly. But let's go ahead and put that on. That was my mistake. Definitely don't forget that. That's this little linkage piece. And the spring. In my mind, I was like, why does this sound like it's revving so high? Yeah, definitely don't ever forget the governor linkage. Because in some things with the carb replacement, if you don't do it, the mower just won't start. But this one can actually blow your mower. Because from over-revving, the engine's going to rev way too high. And that's a good safety tip to know about small engines. If it sounds like it's revving higher than it should, don't run it until you know further. There we go. That's better. Let's try that again. Oh yeah, much better. So a couple more things. I'm going to throw that air filter and spark plug on because we just want to get this thing in tip-top shape. I'll make sure to speed that up for you guys if it's not too long, because this video is not a tutorial on how to replace your spark plug. But I'm going to start with that, and then we'll move to the air filter, and then we'll be done. That fits perfectly. Boom. Well, that's that. And that old spark plug I can definitely tell was due for replacement because it is quite black and fouled on that tip there. Alright, well that's going to wrap it up for this lawnmower repair. And I really hope that this video helps you get your lawnmower running. If this video helps you get your mower up and running, or you have anything else fun you'd like to share, feel free to leave a comment. Also, be sure to like this video, and definitely go ahead and subscribe to my channel for more cool videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.